I am deeply grateful to the Brahma Kumaris and the organizers of this conference for giving me the opportunity to speak for a brief while on a subject about which I do not myself have great grasp and therefore cannot shed light. Nevertheless, will share with you some thoughts which come uppermost my mind. There is no finality about what I say. There is no dogmatism about what I say. There is only a beginning, as all life is a beginning. Now, we are living in a world which is so full of strife. There is happiness, unhappiness, wealth, poverty, all kinds of contrasts. Some are developed countries, others are developing countries, yet others are destitute. So this is a world of contradictions, a multiplicity of inequalities, what Dr. Ambedkar would have called graded inequalities. Now we have therefore a strange world in which we are here. This world is real. We cannot get away from it. We are in this hall. When we get out, we see certain things. And when we go farther off, again there, other things come into our view. We can't close our eyes. We can't close our consciousness. So we have got to be alive all the time. And when we see these inequalities and injustices, these unsocial activities, these mafia operations, and at the same time we find great movements like this, which are perhaps the hope of salvation for humanity. We have therefore two things: great movements on the other side, on one side, which give us real opportunity to see what this world is like or can be. We are in a world which is a paradise lost. We are in a world where we want paradise regained. So what is this process of regaining the paradise which we have lost? And that is possible only if the maximum potential of each person is manifested. You and I are capable of 1,000,000 times more of energization of the virtues that we have within us. How are we going to do that? Two ways. One is we must respond to the evils that we have, the asuric forces. Then we must enhance our abilities to confront them and overpower them. That means the strength that is latent in us must somehow be brought to the surface into action. It is this karma yoga that is basically at the bottom of all that is being taught to us. How is humanity going to regain what has been lost? In the language of the Brahma Kumaris, you have the golden age. You had the golden age. Now you have the iron age. Now they want us to go back to the golden age. So, in other words, you may say there was paradise, paradise was lost, paradise has to be regained, and the struggle of mankind has to be to regain this paradise. When I walk in the morning, I see poverty and tears, homelessness and destitution. I feel sympathy for them, and I want that their lot must be equal to mine, or more than mine. I am a miserable man, I am a sad man. It is my sadness which brought me close to the Brahma Kumaris. I need not expand on that particular misfortune. But what I mean to say is, there is so much of misfortune in this world. And let us be alive to that. We cannot close our eyes or open our eyes and say we are going on to the point of light. We have got actually to reach the point of light. Mentally, fictionally reaching the point of light is not sufficient. And that is why there must be an actualization of our responses at a higher level, an actualization of our abilities at a very high pitch. Why are we losing our capacities? Capacity to respond and ability to overcome. It is largely because of the stresses that we have. Everywhere is stress. We must realize we are in a world of stresses and tensions. It is not as if everything is happy. When a child is born, the baby starts crying, responding or protesting against the stresses everywhere. Now, the Americans have produced the largest volume of literature on stress, and they call it stressology, because everything must have a logos, knowledge. So they say stressology. The largest volume of literature in the United States is stressology, or in the West for that matter is stressology, because there is stress everywhere. The billionaire in the United States is so full of stress because he must have more billions. The millionaire says, I must fight this taxation. Therefore, I must have more billions without tax cut. Therefore, I lobby with the congressman to see that taxes are reduced, because he has tension that he must preserve his billions. So we have craze after craze. I must have a 5-star hotel dinner tonight. I must take my wife for a big cinema, or I must go to some other beautiful place on a 5-star hotel. And some people would like to have sex tourism. All kinds of things are happening in this world. There is no use keeping our eyes blind and saying that we are reaching the other end. We have got to fight this. We have got to resist this. And how are we going to do this? Tennyson, the great poet, said, who am I? I think he said, what am I? An infant crying in the night, an infant crying for the light, with no language but a cry. Are we that infant with no language except a cry? The Brahmakumari movement says, no, you are not a child with no language but a cry. You are a point of light. That is why he says, the poet himself says, what am I? An infant crying in the night, an infant crying for the light, with no language but a cry. So we are crying for the light. And what is the methodology by which we can we can secure the light? Until then, we are overcome by the darkness of stresses. I want to be back again. If the age of Supreme Court judges were raised to 95, I will have another 15 years more to serve. That is my desire. Some other judges would say, can I become the Law Commission chairman? Can I do Human Rights Commission? Or you can have 100 other new commissions for which you can go after the Prime Minister or the President or whatever. And the President himself will say, let me have a second term. And the Prime Minister will say, let me fight all these people, let me have again another term, let me be President, Prime Minister, everything all rolled up into one. This kind of craze, he is making for stresses within. And because of stress, everybody has it. I am talking of big people, but I am also speaking of small people. There are street boys who try to pickpocket. If they pickpocket successfully, then that day their stress is reduced a little. There are alcoholics who would have real stress-free period only when they have alcohol. Similarly, drug addiction. These are all depressants. They do not give you real light at all. Alcoholism ruins you. Even your smoking the puff invites cancer. So realize 13, just imagine, 13 lakhs of Indians are dying every year because of the use of tobacco. But you ask them to give up tobacco? No, because they have attachment to it. Drug addiction. It is an addiction. It is like a drug. So all these, when you want to get drugs and you do not have the money to get drugs, you want to do burglary. I must somehow burgle the man, burglarize the man, as the Americans would say, and then get some money, go and buy drugs, and let me go to the seventh heaven. Not to Shiva Baba, but to the seventh heaven. So, what we find is in any level of life in this world, whether it be in the West or in the East, whether it be the North, which is supposed to be prosperous, or the South, which is supposed to be destitute. In all these parts of the world, we have got the same craze, same cry, same agony, same pain. And that is, somehow let me get material happiness, material happiness. I must have Jaguar car. I must have Chrysler. I must have, what is it, the biggest, best cars in the world, or the best plane in the world. I must have a private plane. These are all the desires, more desires, desire upon desire. There is no end to this. And when you do not get your desire, and you cannot get your desire, because there are limitations to resources, then you try to destroy nature. I start a big industry, and in that industry, if I have pollution, anti-pollution gadgets built in, it will be very costly. Therefore, I don't care whether there is pollution. Let me make maximum profit. So the industrialist wants to make more profit. The importer wants to deceive people by making more money out of it. The exporter deceives people and then makes money. Everywhere, what we find is what Wordsworth said: the world is too much with us, getting and spending. The world is too much with us. We are all prisoners. If you read the Gitanjali in one stanza says, "Prisoner, who has made thou prisoner?" One of the stanzas, beautiful stanzas begins, "Prisoner, who has made thou prisoner?" "It is I," said the prisoner. The prisoner says, "I made myself the prisoner. Because I want more gold. I want my wife to have more jewelry. We must all travel around the world, and if possible, at the expense of somebody else." And this kind of desire goes on. I make myself the prisoner of desire after desire. When am I going to break this bond which holds me in its chains? And this is a real problem of life. That is why Shakespeare somewhere says, "O man, proud man, dressed in a little brief authority, fretting and strutting the hour." Fretting and strutting the hour. How picturesque he has put it. You are fretting all the time. Even coming to Mount Abu. Let me come to Mount Abu. How can I come to Mount Abu? How can I make money for reaching Mount Abu? You are coming to a spiritual place, but you are crazy in reaching this place. So it is that I say that the real problem that faces us is stresses within, tensions within. And I want somehow to have the best of all that is in the world. Envy, jealousy, ego, all these things come together. So you can have your enhancement of responses and abilities being augmented only if you can overcome these stressful factors. How can you do that? I am really strong, but I am feeling weak because the stresses overpower me. That is why Vivekananda said, "Man-making is my mission." Not because he was against women, but strength. He says, strength is God. Weakness is death. What we require is strength. Build more strength. Enhance your responses. Sensitivity. When you see a person suffering, you must be sensitive. Otherwise you are a brute. If I see people suffering, and if I just drive away in my beautiful limousine or a beautiful car, then what am I worth? I am none other than a beast. Even a beast has sensitivity to its children, but men do not have. So what is required is sensitivity being cultivated. Sensitization of our conscience is the first task if we are to have our responses kindled. Kindle your responsibility, responses, inner responses. It was this kindling of the inner responses which made Mahatma Gandhi a Mahatma. He was just a Gandhi who lived as vicious a life as you and I at the age of 18, 15, 16, and in his experiments with truth he has stated all this. But he changed. Why? Because his inner voice. He speaks of the inner voice. Brahma Kumari speaks of the light within. The language is different, but the idea is the same. Mahatma is the great soul. He is in touch with the Supreme Soul. And the Supreme Soul whispers to him, Gandhi, do this. And then next morning, when Jawaharlal Nehru and Patel and others come there, he says, yes, my inner voice tells me I must go on a fast. They say, what is all your inner voice talking? You please listen to us. We have got rational arguments. He says, nothing doing. I have got my inner voice. The Brahma Kumaris will say, the light within has got in touch with the Supreme Light. And there I have got the illumination on which my determination has been based. No change. If I am writing a judgment, as in one case it happened in the Indira Gandhi stay, I am giving you because autobiographically you may carry it more conviction. Indira Gandhi case, the whole nation was in suspense. And I was alone as a vacation judge. No single judge to care for me. And I was myself a sorrowful man, my wife having died the previous year, and I was broken-hearted. But broken-hearted though, I said, I shall stick to truth, stick to light, act according to the light. And passed an order, whatever it was, its meaning was interpreted one way or the other way, I was abused or criticized, it doesn't matter, it doesn't affect me. The point remains that I listened to the light, I contacted the Supreme Light, and then acted on that basis. That is why when a judge takes his oath, affection or ill will shall not influence him. Neither affection nor ill will. And in each one's office, in your office as a teacher, you will act without affection or ill will when you assign marks. And if an income tax officer does something without affection or ill will, because he is absolutely free from stress. If you yield to affection or ill will, if you yield to bribery, then you become overcome with stress. I have taken 1 lakh of rupees from this assessee, so I have to help him. That is a stress in me. That darkens my light. The light within is darkened that way. So it is that purity becomes an essential condition for avoidance or elimination of stress. You can never be pure so long as you have not resisted impurity. And if you are pure, you are strong. That is precisely what Vivekananda said. Strength, strength. And strength is unconquerable strength. The determination of Mahatma Gandhi is an instance for us. Diamond, what shall I say, diamond hard. My friend Mr. Justice Chandrachud once used the expression diamond hard. Diamond, of course, here is diamond hard light that comes to us in all directions. Prajapita Brahma. But what I mean to say is, like diamond hard material, you have your inner self. And that inner self must be protected by purity. You must have purity all round. Nobody shall enter. I was in 10 Tughlaq Road or so when this case was being heard. I had given orders, not one man or woman shall enter the house. I was alone, my private secretary, nobody else. Justice Bhagavati could occasionally walk in and go, that's all. Because my purity must be protected. Everybody's purity, every walk of life, every office has to be protected. An income tax officer, a customs officer, or a schoolmaster, or a manager, or a person who owns an enterprise, he has got to resist all the weaknesses. The weakness is making profit. I resist the weakness of making profit. I am going round and round because that is really the crux of the matter. That is central to, that is the core of the creed, if I may put it that way. That, how are we going to get? How are we going to resist stress? Stressologists will give you psychology. Here is psychology graduate who talked to us about meditation. All the psychology that you learn, or psychoanalysis that you learn, all that Jung has taught us or Freud has taught us will not give an answer for this. It is simple, and that simple thing is guard the fire within, the light that is within you. And that can be done. And that is why you and I are here. It can be done in 1,000 ways. It's not as if there is any monopoly, even for the Brahma Kumaris. What we really want, the essence of it, the quintessence of the teaching is realize that you are not the body. By that, no, it doesn't mean this particular body, but all body consciousness, senses, the senses controlling you, sensuality, sensuousness, and sexuality, all these things come all together. So you have got to be pure. When it comes, I say, no, please get out. I won't have you here. And what is the strength that I have? I go into meditation. You know, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, suddenly, when he was suffering from cancer, he was going to die. His doctor says, you talk always of Kali. Then why don't you ask your Kali to cure your cancer? This man would suddenly have vision. Prajapita Brahma had vision. If you read his life, how he was a billionaire diamond dealer, suddenly has vision. And he says, what are these diamonds worth? I do not want them. I'll start another kind of diamond institution. And that is the Brahma Kumari movement. Light. Light. The power of light. And that is where, wherever we go, we find the power of light, not of colors. These people wear white clothes because light. And Ramakrishna Paramahamsa had the same thing. And by a touch, he made this Vivekananda, who was an atheist, who was a critic, who even spurned God. In fact, I remember his biography of Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. He has said, oh, you say you have seen God. That doesn't mean I should accept it. He was so critical. But just a touch, he changed. Prajapita Brahma touches, and then the world is transformed. It can happen. Miracles can happen. I believe in miracles. Miracle is a challenge to science of the unconquered portion of science. Tomorrow it will discover. I learned when I was an SSLC schoolboy in the intermediate that atom is the most indivisible particle of matter. But today people will laugh at you if you say atom cannot be. In fact, breaking the atom is the only means by which we can wipe out the human race. That is how it is. So science is not able to understand the miracle. He is miracle. He is science. This is spiritual science. The science of spirituality. We have yet to prove the science of spirituality to the grosser experiments which the scientists conduct. If we do that, the inner fire, the spirit within, that is strong, that is unbreakable, and that is all conquering. If that, how do we achieve that? There it is that the teacher in the first lecture gave us all the details of meditation. Meditation as a technique gives you that strength. And once you get that strength, if you do it once, twice, thrice, in fact I do it in the plane. Sometimes I do this, sometimes I do transcendental meditation, sometimes I do Satya Sai Baba's instructions. There is, for me, it is polygamy. But one thing is certain. I preserve one thing which is most important. I realize that I am not this body. I have seen my wife go. I have seen that. Every one of us has to go. Then what is it you are clinging to? The one that is imperishable is the light within, Atman, Paramatma and Atma, that linkage. Preserve that. Then you can have no more stress. Your thinking is very clear. If I have a judgment to write and I have no particular partiality for one party or the other, if he comes from Kerala, I must decide in his favor, then I am gone. I have to be absolutely free from any pressure. And that is possible only if your mind is free from stress, free from tension, free from parochial pressures, free from friendly gestures, free from monetary attractions. All these things will have to go. And that can be done only by realizing I am not all these bodily pleasures. I am really something deeper, something profounder, something greater, something more glorious, something imperishable. Let me stick to that imperishability. Let me become aware of that imperishability. The moment I become aware, then I rise above all that is seen here in the visible world. If I stick to that, and with that you begin to, the Gita itself says, when you are in yoga with the infinite power, then whatever karma you do, you will be doing the right thing. Because the things which persuade you to do the wrong things are kept away. That is how it is. So I suggest that what we have got to do if we are to enhance our abilities and enhance our responses, it is very important. Responses, if you do not have responses, then you are as crude as a savage, as crude as a beast. The very fact that we are Homo sapiens sapiens, because we have come from savage to civilized man, is the ability to feel compassion. You know, curiously enough, the Indian Constitution has spoken about compassion. Fundamental duties under Article 51A, one of the articles is that it is the fundamental duty of every Indian citizen to have compassion for living creatures. There was reference to the Buddha. I thought the draftsman of the amendment of the Constitution in 1976, in spite of the emergency, Buddha was whispering, please write there, compassion, compassion. And compassion has been written in the Constitution. It is our fundamental duty to be responsive to the sufferings of people. And then not necessarily by giving them bread, not giving them tea, but by sharing and caring. You are divine, I am divine. We both have the same Father, the same great light. Let us have contact with Him, and that is the liberation into that freedom, into that heaven of freedom. My Father, let my country awake. And that is all that I have got to tell you in the short. I have exceeded. Excuse me for that. Thank you very much.